We put 3 trips together to Plymouth, London and Amsterdam. What we were mainly looking at was different models for how things can support the creative industries, how they can work together, how the creative industries overlap with other sectors that are not creative sectors.
We were commissioned to organise the trips to stimulate the creative economy in Somerset and provide some inspiration from other places on how people do things, how people support the creative industries in other places, and looking at new business models to inspire people back in Somerset.
So I run co-working spaces and shared workspaces, so I was really interested in finding out more about shared workspace in a country other than the UK. I've obviously seen lots of the places in London and other cities, and I was really interested in finding out if they were similar, if they had different working models, just how things worked here, I guess.
Part of my remit is today is, if we can view spaces that other people work in as contemporary designers, artists, makers, that they feel inspired to come to work too, if we can have an essence of that and sort of use that for our architectural process, that'll be beneficial. The other thing we're interested in is, in terms of our curriculum, is to try and chat with people in industry to see what they're doing, because we need to realign our curriculums.
I was invited to come along, and I was really interested because I'm Dutch by origin, and I was very keen to look at the creative industries here, how they approach things, especially collaborative working, because I feel that there's a lot to be gained from working together.
Yeah, I was fascinated by coming to Amsterdam, partly obviously for the visit, but also just to see what's already happening in Somerset and to talk to a lot of the people who've been involved in all of these things which are already starting to spring up in our local area.
Formation Zone is a business incubator that started almost 7 years ago now. It's specifically for pre-start and start-up companies, and our first Formation Zone here on campus focused on creative industries. Since then, we've developed Formation Zone further, and we have other incubators that look at other sectors, from environmental, science and marine, but creative industries is the one that we're in today.
I've been here about 6 weeks, 7 weeks, so I'm relatively new here. I love it. It's a fantastic place to work. The experience you get and the opportunities you get is amazing.
We've created something called Makerversity, which is essentially a shared making space for making businesses. There's a loose theme around emerging practice, but generally if you make a product, whether it's digital, physical, edible, musical, it doesn't matter as long as there's a product to what you're doing and you're a viable business. So if you come and work from here, you get affordable space, you get access to kit and machinery that is pretty difficult for startups to find and get hold of. And the other side of what we're doing is we're trying to use the people that work here, so the businesses, as a faculty for a sort of an alternative learning institution where young people can come and learn about emerging practice, job creating, sort of employability stuff for free or paid work experience. So there's no socio-economic barriers to being here whatsoever.
Amsterdam is a community of app makers, and that means not just the technical people, but everyone involved with making apps and technology. So that's also designers, marketing people, business people, anyone who has an idea and wants to be a part of implementing that idea.
Yeah, we take 10 startups at a time, just for a very short 3-month program, which we try to take them from the idea stage really through to having their first customers and their first investment. So that really means helping them hone their proposition, find the right customers, and then think about a growth strategy as well. But we're really dependent on them like accelerating quite quickly so as they can then go on to other investors and other people to support them.
Collaboration is essential for the creative sector. You don't have creativity without collaboration, and that's part of what we do at Amsterdam, is that we are part of an ecosystem. We can't exist just by ourselves. Programmers can't exist just by themselves. The designers can't exist by themselves. You also need business. You need the people with the ideas. You need the city to work in a way that allows people to interact with it in a way to where they can exchange ideas. It's all about collaboration.
I see on a regular basis my companies collaborating not necessarily formally through, kind of working together on contracts, but whether it be just sharing information at their desks, helping each other out, peer support side of things, and then perhaps as they develop further, we have seen companies that start here as individual companies actually moving on to form cooperative and collaborative organisations that actually pitch together for contracts. So it's definitely something that is of real interest to us here in Formation Zone.
The funny part is, if you look at the creative industry, the game developers are used to work with each other. Fashion, you can create a fashion dress or whatever by your own. But now these days, with the influence of technology, you can combine it more and create new products. So yeah, co-creation is necessary to be more successful in what way, in a social way or in an economic way, but also to work with other sectors. That's the most. I think that's the growth for the creative industry within a couple of years.
We've always really tried to take a lot of advice. I mean, particularly if you're starting up from university and you don't have a network or know the industry, building those relationships is possibly the single most important thing you'll do. Getting advice from as many people as possible, obviously making your own way, but taking that advice and learning from other people who've done it. The industry is very open and people are very willing to talk to you, and I think the people that do well are the ones that take advantage of that.
I think it's possible to have a creative business that doesn't collaborate and that knows where it wants to go and takes that route. However, I think agile businesses are open to collaboration, and I think the healthiest businesses are agile.
Definitely. However much you might be a one-man band, you're not. You can't run a business yourself. You need help, you need support, you need other people's knowledge, advice and experiences to help you do that, because you won't get the best out of your business and you won't fulfill your dreams.
I think the main thing is to know why you're doing it and what you want to achieve, like have a long-term strategy, but also don't feel like you've got to do everything now. We've always wanted to make our own games, but it took us a while to build up the studio to a point where we felt we could do that sustainably. A lot of startups that I meet want to do everything now, and I think that can be dangerous. You have to have somebody who's focused not on production. You really have to define your roles and understand that you're running a business, not just making a product. And if you don't do that, then unless your product is a one-hit wonder, immediately your business won't be around.
Yeah, if you look at, for instance, Kickstarter, the crowdfunding platform from the US, it first went to established in London, because they had the venture capital has already a company in the UK, and then it came to Holland. And why coming to Holland? Because we have a lot of crowdfunding platforms here. We are used to give money to charities, a small piece of money, but we all are willing to give. And so Kickstarter was quite interesting to use this region as a test market for new products.
I think large and small companies need each other more than ever. I think once upon a time they didn't, but I think that's changing, and actually the power is shifting, I think, in favour of the little guys. The big companies need to grow, and often the innovation, the ideas, the creativity comes from outside companies. So knowing who to talk to is a challenge. So some of what we do as a company is 100% open, is help them figure out who they should talk to. So we filter the noise and find some interesting companies. I think the rule is small companies selling to larger companies, and that's the space that we play in. So it's not as glamorous and sexy as the kind of high growth Googles of this world, but it's much more the norm.
You don't really need to worry about your competitors. You need to worry about who you're going to collaborate with, whether that's people who are going to support you or people you're going to learn from. I think collaboration in early stage businesses is far more important than maybe the movie portrayal would have you believe.
I think that people are far too precious, to be honest. I think they spend way too much time worrying about their own position within whatever it is that they're doing, rather than whether or not they're actually delivering something that's worthwhile. And worthwhile doesn't have to mean altruistic. It can mean just good, and generally more heads are better than less.
I think the whole principle of kind of study visits is a good one. But also, the world has just shrunk massively because of the internet, and so good ideas can come from anywhere. And whilst that's always been the case, now you can actually access smart people anywhere around the world. So I think we need to get better at connecting that up, and spending a bit more time getting to know each other is got to be a good thing.
Absolutely. I think that there's so much happening in the world. I think that one of the things that enable us to grow and to learn and to improve things is by actually collaboration and what is happening here, is slightly different than what's happening in the UK and in Somerset, but we inspire each other. So learning by actually doing things and going out and meeting people and listening to other people and learning about other experiences, I think that is so important, and so yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's just been amazing to meet so many inspiring people. I think probably for us as an organisation, it's given us a sort of concept more of how to position ourselves in the creative industries, how to lobby more, how to talk more about what we do, and also how to build our networks, not just locally, but potentially internationally.
I think there's a certain magic which has been happening between the creative industries and other areas. So for me, this idea of the architecture and the facilitation and working with young people, I'm also really drawn towards, and you can really see that happening already in Amsterdam, and they don't seem to have such an idea of separate industries which won't be connecting to each other. So that's been particularly exciting.
Well, basically I wanted to see first like the culture and how they cross different creative sectors with other business sectors and see how them partnerships kind of work.
I mean, I think there's some things that we're already doing, and that's been nice to see them in a different context. I mean, obviously Amsterdam is a very different city and a very different setting to our setting in Somerset, which is much more rural, but there's definitely sort of similar themes which I can see we can build on, and ways of working with organisations and artists which we can grow.
Absolutely. I wish we could just bring more people to see these innovatory and collaborative practices in action, because you've got to somehow see it to believe it. And yes, this has been billed as a creative industries trip, but everybody we've spoken to so far today and everything we've seen so far today can happen across the whole board of the economy, of every single sector, and it's not just about the creative industries.
What this trip and certainly our events have highlighted is just getting people together, getting people who don't necessarily think they've got that common point together. Exciting things can happen and new initiatives can grow, and this trip's been a fabulous example of that.
Completely love the Fab Lab that we've just saw, and I'm just seeing all of these machines and thinking there could be so much we could do with that. It could be incredible to have that in the southwest and to have some of those resources away from London or in a place where there isn't that much going on necessarily at the moment. And thinking of the other apprentices who I'm working with at Venture, there are so many ideas, and it'd be really good to have access to that in the same way that we've just seen at Fab Lab.
Today has been really interesting. I come along because I wanted to have a look at what the creative community was like in Somerset as a wider thing, and thought that these opportunities would be really interesting. It's been great to look at all the different buildings, the way that the spaces are laid out, and also the different students and how they are furthering their careers.
It's been very good, I think very, very successful for us on both terms of just seeing different spaces that people work in that are creative and innovative and architecturally sort of stimulating, but also quite interesting, going from the first organisation, which was very organic and very energy driven, ending up at the last organisation, which was quite corporate, very, very framed, very business-like, and everything in between, as a resource that in essence it's really been celebrated. And I think people see not just the commercial value of creativity, but I suppose the social value of it as well.
Oh, I think collaboration has been an absolutely key theme with everybody that we've talked to and everything that we've done. Even in companies, when you're talking about individual businesses, thinking about the environment that you operate in, how the people in your own company work with each other, how that works as a whole, and how the space kind of supports that. But obviously the collaboration that we've been talking about in some of these places is very much not just even within the creative industries, but across all the different sectors that could have an impact with that. And people have very explicitly said that it's very hard to do much of this stuff on your own, and that you do really need to try and find people with different skills, complementary skills, to help you kind of get things forward.
This will be the model of work in the next decade, 2 decades. And I think the more that people understand that the way that we work is changing, that we're all going to have to work more collaboratively, I think the better.